welcome to the meeting. This is
All right.
the January, yeah. It's the June 26th meeting of the Richmond Town Center and Library Committee. And we have a quorum and we have an agenda somewhere. I can look it up on my computer. And the very first thing that we're going to do behold elections. Since I am resigning as chair, we need someone to take that position. We might want to wait for that until we have as many people that are going to show up as we're going to get. If Adam's on his way.
Yeah, I'm just pulling onto Hillview now, so I should be there momentarily as well.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Yeah, it's no hurry. I mean, we're fine. We got time.
Now, the process would be for us to nominate somebody for that position.
In a second,
Right, in a second, okay.
Mhm.
And we can, for example, if I would nominate Adam and Adam's not present, can we still elect him? If he chooses not to do it, then we deal with that, or?
I think we could. It doesn't require the candidate's agreement, really.
Okay,
It would be, I wouldn't say risky, but sort of uncertain, I guess. If the candidate walks in.
I mean, if somebody wants it,
Yeah,
I'm more than,
Yeah.
willing to listen to anybody who wants it, but my just thought process is, what if we had Adam, since he's the select board chair and has more interaction with the rest of the select board too, it
Right.
comes in handy.
well, that's
Have
what
that
Amy
piece.
was passing on, a few minutes ago, is that historically, well, not by rule, but historically it's been a select board member as part of the committee, so
Who's been the
that
chair.
connection is there, and Adam would be certainly eligible for
So
that.
that's what my thought process is
Yeah.
around it. So we can wait for Matt to get here too, in case he wants it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, good discussion. And really, yeah, we can discuss this. It's an agenda item, so, and that's where we are. So we can discuss this to whatever degree we think we should, because that's the opportunity for it. I will get my agenda out here.
Now, Lisa, you're resigning just from the chair position, but not from the committee.
From the committee also.
Okay.
What did it, Adam, congratulations. Congratulations, you couldn't defend yourself, so, no. Not really. You look like you've been working. No,
I just came from work too. Mine's a little different than yours today, but.
Cara, to your question, I thought I had skills that might be helpful to this committee, but not so. It's a fit like this, essentially. I've got a lot of experience as a project manager, professional project manager. This is not really that.
Yeah.
The project management part is small. It's really run by this committee. For the actual project management of construction and so forth, when we get to that, yes, you need one, and they'll have one, whoever that firm is that does that. That should be part of their skill set. Either that, or maybe it shouldn't be chosen. So I realized that it's kind of like brought a baseball glove to a football game, sort of. It's not all that helpful. And other than that, I don't have deep knowledge of the town like all of you do. That's important, as I find out. It's more important than you would think. I also don't have experience with prior discussions about this building and so forth. So I really find that the reason I am chair is because the last meeting, a year ago when I joined up, nobody stepped forward for it. So I volunteered. All right, I'll do chair. That's how much premeditated it was on my part. So, okay, fine. That got us to here, I guess. But I am really not the best person to be doing this role as the chair.
I appreciate that explanation. Matt is on his way in. I don't know if you knew that. He's like moments away. So we were kind of just having
Said he's
conversations.
coming up the hill.
Texted me to tell me he was a few minutes late and I was driving, so I didn't text him back to tell him I'm also running late.
We're just having,
Yeah. So, okay, where am I here?
I guess we can start now.
we have, Lisa opened the meeting and we were just
Yeah.
kind of talking about how it looks to, if you weren't here, could we still have nominated you and elected you as the chair.
We thought about it.
Not particularly.
It's a good thing you did show.
But we
So
were
Matt's gonna
talking,
be upset.
I mean-
Yes, you could.
Yes.
we talked about unless Matt wants it, then.
I second Adam.
Okay, I make the motion to
There you go.
Adam as the chair of the
Wanna
committee.
swap by microphone?
I guess there's no one on the Zoom, this should. I think this should be fine, I guess. I don't see any other.
It seems to be pretty standard turnout for these meetings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, do something that is controversial or whatever. It's the way to get people. So I don't think I'm gonna do that. on purpose.
So I seriously make the motion. Do you want to second it?
Yeah, I second that.
Okay, we're good.
Or-
To nominate Adam Wood as the chair.
Okay, we have a nomination. It's been seconded. Adam Wood to
I second that.
be chair.
I think the discussion was the
This is
fact
how I
that
got it.
having a select board
Yes,
member
I
be the chair
Mhm.
makes that link to us easier.
All right.
Because you also have connections with
Honestly,
Josh.
As long as I'm not having to do some stuff, I don't mind doing an agenda because I can do that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and honestly,
Okay.
I've got a copy of the transcript coming around here somewhere.
Cool, we can
I don't know if
do that.
you've ever seen those. I had
Yeah,
not worked off
I
of
haven't
one.
seen one for our committee, obviously, but I've seen the other ones that have been
It's,
put together.
it's interesting what this thing thinks it hears, because it's things that we didn't say. I was telling them the word Hispanic with a capital H showed up twice in the transcript. I didn't print all of it. It's like,
I wonder what
52
word, I'm just
pages.
curious, like what word are we saying?
exactly. It's like, oh, I won't say that word again, but not that it was taken out of, in vain or anything, but it's just, it didn't come out. Mhm. So I have a little bit of concern about the accuracy of the text there. Anyway, I wrote the minutes from that, plus my own notes, plus a little bit of putting two and two together in those things, because there's some weird gaps. There was a discussion about gender in there. I'm pretty sure it didn't happen. So.
We are recording the meetings anyway, right?
Mhm.
So we have like actual like audio recording.
Mhm.
If there's ever like
Yes.
an issue.
Right.
Not perception wise, but actually for accuracy, we can always review this.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think we talked about doing basic minutes versus detailed minutes. so
Yeah,
we
it's
can get
kind of,
to that
what was-
after.
what was discussed, maybe not what everything was discussed, but what subject was discussed
It's
and,
like real true minutes, not.
yeah.
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 So we have
kind of-
minutes and then we have
Mhm.
TCL 06.
The video transcript might be more useful than that.
Yeah, exactly. And
Sort of
I
like
was not
YouTube
gonna dig
captions.
Through
We have-
the
We have
video.
different levels of,
Mhm.
I don't know,
Yeah.
archival
Yeah.
data.
Yeah. All right, so,
We have to take the vote, though.
yes, very first thing, you've been nominated and seconded for the chair. And any last words or?
I guess I'll just resign myself to my fate, pending the outcome of the vote.
Yeah. All right, so I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye. Okay, that's 4 ayes, 1 abstention by Adam. All opposed? Obviously, no. So
Welcome to-
congratulations.
Yeah, we're-
Get out of your seats, all warmed up for you.
Do I need to do any computer stuff or can I just?
I think at this point it's on automatic. We're doing the video, we've got the transcription going, the recording going.
Cool.
You know how to pause and start? There's a button
Yeah,
right there.
it's just standard.
It's regular Zoom.
There's nothing different about it
Yep.
because it's,
Yep.
done.
Yeah, so
Sounds good.
I guess you might want to keep your own notes.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep notes for myself.
Mhm.
You had asked if I would be
Yeah. do you
the
wanna do
secretary
that, or-
position, and I had thought about it and since I sent out the to-do list, I felt that was very helpful.
It
I
was.
don't mind doing that. I don't think you have to.
Also throw Matt under
I don't think you have to, you can also do what?
You could also throw Matt under the bus if you want.
I don't mind doing the
Great.
secretarial notes if you guys are okay with that. I don't think you have to do a elected thing like you do the chair, do you?
Yeah, it's an officer of the committee, so
Okay.
yeah, it should be.
What did we did chair and secretary, correct?
Right.
Yes.
So and the secretary kind of was,
We haven't addressed that yet.
secretary and it kind of had vice chair duties also.
I
I'm-
think a lot of these committees don't really have a vice chair.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the secretary could fill.
I think it was just to run the meeting if I wasn't here.
Mhm.
That was kind of the big duty.
Unless you want to be the secretary, Matt, I'm totally good with it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I will make a motion that Cara LaBounty is the secretary of the Town Center and Library Committee.
Motion made. Do I hear a second?
Aye.
Is that the yeah?
Yeah.
It's like at the racetrack. If you just raise your hand, you're in.
Subtlest, the subtlest of motions, yeah.
Made and seconded. Any other discussion?
Oh, do you want me to take over now? Do I have to do all this?
Well, I'm just training.
No, I like that. Do this for like 10 or 12 more meetings.
I have to call someone.
I did some digging around AI minutes as well. I've been using one at work. However, Zoom has one built in. So
As it what?
has a AI minute taker built
Am I-
in
am I
that we
calling?
might want to explore.
Question quick vote on this quick and then we'll.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Any discussion, anyone care?
Yes,
To
that's
talk?
everything. Got anything you want to say, Cara, or?
No.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
I abstain.
Carrie, you're elected.
Okay. I'm voting even though I'm actually withdrawn from the committee also, but.
But is
since
it
I'm still
effective
here-
at the end of this meeting? Because I thought you were gonna do this meeting. So I'd like you to participate
Yes,
if
I
you want
haven't
to
really
Yeah, I
gotten
think
to
you
the
should-
fine points.
I would
that,
appreciate you for participating. I don't think.
Okay.
tonight, if
If
you're
it
good to
wasn't, you
stay.
didn't specifically resign already, then we can make it effective at the end of the meeting and.
Okay,
participate.
well, I did, but I didn't say when. And Josh had suggested I do come to this meeting. I thought that was.
Yeah.
and
I
wanted
thought
to
it was
anyway.
open-ended enough. that
Not
we
just
can-
like walking away. So
You can make a legal case that you were still part of
Well,
it.
that's the way I read it, was that you were here for the meeting.
I still have encumbrances.
So what do you got for minutes? Built-in, Zoom has something built in?
Zoom has an AI companion. Everything just smears AI over their web. Yeah, so I figured I may as well look into it since that's
Yeah,
what we
you
weur
can.
using.
Is that what you guys use at work too? Or what do you
No, we
use?
use something different,
What do
but
you use?
yeah, we use something called Fireflies.
Does it work well or
It's incredible. It
is it?
takes everything spoken. It then summarizes activity, action items, and talking points.
That's a paid subscription?
I'm not sure with Zoom. With Fireflies, it is.
What's the bar?
I think it's $40 a year.
You may have to run that by Josh because of
Mm.
open meeting laws and, transparency and
Sure.
like the town has certain,
Yeah,
like,
That's
I
what I
think we're on Microsoft.
Can you,
that's what I figured.
There's,
Do you want to
there's
check out
software,
the
but
Zoom one and then if it's not satisfactory,
Yeah, I'll use
in a
it.
couple meetings, then we can talk to Josh and get another option going.
I'll use it a couple times this week and report back. Sound good?
The question is how much detail you want, because if we don't want all that much detail, then I just take notes and we
Yeah,
put it into
Oh,
type up notes kind of thing.
something while you're on that subject, it jogged my memory. Duncan told me that it's best to have like get a timestamp off of this thing and jot it down into there's any transcript, any.
Okay,
personal-
if that's the case, look into AI.
Yeah, yeah.
Done.
Yeah,
Read the
because
AI
it helps
timestamp.
link the transcript, the computer transcript to where we are in the meeting. Otherwise, it's just kind of floating in midair and have to go figure out at what point in the meeting that action happened. So
Do you have the ability with this meeting to somehow mark it with the recording when you're doing it, or do you have to just manually write down the time?
That
So
I'm
you've
not
switched agenda
sure.
items.
I thought there was a way to kind of,
Click
do
it,
a-
next
maybe we
agenda
start,
item.
And I
maybe
don't
just
know.
start and stop for a second.
lap
and-
time.
Yeah, ready, go.
I was just
Um,
curious.
I think if we stopped and then restarted, a second later, it should put that interruption in and that would, somebody would
My
still
only
have to
concern
know.
Is that,
We wouldn't start it back up.
and then also that we're gonna become experts at AI and Zoom and not town center.
Right, you're right. But think how
Which I'm
marketable
sure
those skills are.
If we vetted all these things,
Yeah.
then if Duncan and Josh a review of every software, they would appreciate that, but I don't think that's quite within our.
Yeah.
So what I'll do right now is as we go agenda items, I'll just like put like 7:15
Yeah, I
or
could-
whatever time.
Just tell me and I'll give you the time.
Oh, it's right there. I can see it, 7:17 right there. So when
Yeah.
we get to the next, I'll do that for each agenda item, if that's okay. I didn't do it for the beginning one.
That's fine. Well, we started at 7. So.
Oh, so we're stuck with this thing can you minimize that?
and our meetings don't go quite as
yeah.
long as the select board. So even if someone was watching the meeting back, it's a little easier to fast forward through an hour-long meeting than a 4-hour-long meeting. So
I didn't.
Fair enough.
A copy of the agenda, I didn't bring an agenda.
I have one right here.
Right.
I've got one here.
We've accomplished item A.
Perfect. All right,
Review related files and packet is the other thing, and
What we really should do is first couple items
this is what's
would be
posted.
to approve the minutes from last meeting or make changes, whichever.
I haven't read them at all. I don't know if anybody
Yeah,
else did.
see them.
I've got it here. How about if I just read them to you and then,
I'd rather wait till the
Yes,
next meeting
see.
because I want to read them in case we have edits. We have to write down where we would edit
only like
anything.
an hour, only got like an hour. 20 minutes
Yep,
left,
okay.
so let's make it
Go
Okay, so
Additions
additions,
to the agenda.
deletions, does anyone have any additions, deletions they want to change beyond the few that are on there?
The only addition I would make, so it says review related files in packet, but I think we should probably also review the to-do list, like the materials that we all brought to the meeting, or answer questions. We may not need to
Yeah,
go through everything, but just
check
were there
this.
questions that people had?
Well, the packet includes the documents, that we're supposed to be put up on the website. They are up on the website, so.
Yep.
They're there. I wouldn't want to review them right now anyway.
Well,
Second thing is Mike's list of
Mm-hmm.
the way it was and the way it
Yep.
could be. That's in the packet.
Great.
I don't know when you want.
oh, you're talking about the fact that it's posted? Yeah, because.
Yeah, it's posted. I didn't bring a packet or send anyone a packet, but there are.
It was
those
good to see that
documents on the
pop up.
website. In fact,
So if we're
if
looking
I
at,
could share my screen, which I don't
so-
really know how to do, I could put them up there.
if we're gonna talk about the related files and stuff like that, I'd love to, if you guys don't mind, under this first, we'll have Mike come talk about what he sent us and his input, in case he doesn't want to stay for the whole meeting. If he does, great.
Well, he's
Um,
here for,
But to be able to
Okay.
hear from him on if his opinion more and his thoughts process and what we were looking to hear from him
Yeah, we
previously.
can kind of get you to scrub your opinion from everything.
Yeah.
So if you want to come and not scrub it right now, that would be.
he's scrubbing. Sure.
I did, is it accurate that every time there was a question mark, that was previously a kind of an opinion and you would put a question mark
It
after?
could be.
No, that's what we had talked
Yeah,
about.
right.
Can you come up here so you're getting recorded with the mic? Because there isn't one over those chairs over there.
Do we want to tack on other agenda items?
Actually, I didn't.
Yeah, so we can tack them on and we can do it whenever, but let's say you have any you want to add on.
Yeah, I got a kind of first pass proposal, so apologies for missing the last meeting, but Adam and I did our homework and walked through with Art. I think he spoke to that
Give a
briefly.
really cursory overview of it, but it was like a 30 second.
And that'll be part of our review related items. to
Yeah,
discuss.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, so I wanted to just make sure we had time. I saw a review later. Just want to make time. We actually, he sent kind of a first pass proposal.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
I would say it's focused on what I would have hoped. He put a preliminary schedule more or less in place, broke work into phases to kind of let's call it, give us an idea of how it might look.
Okay.
And then he broke what his fees would be against each phase.
Okay.
And then give us a 3 or 4 page write-up against how he'd expect that to look, what work would be done. I'd say it's quite professional. So I think that's something that the committee should see and be able to read. But it's probably a 3 to 5 minute read. I don't know if we want to take the time in here or do
Sure.
that for next meeting.
Yeah.
I think we can do that as on the list of things to review when we get down to the
Oh, yeah.
parts of the to-do list, if that's okay. And at
okay.
that point, if we still have time, I prefer to read the documents first rather
Yeah, I
than
think that's right.
first time here. So if we can put on maybe on our next agenda item for the next agenda, that would
Works for
be
me.
perfect. So we have time to digest.
No, that's okay. There's
Alright,
actually
so,
8 more of those.
I'm gonna add
vacancies.
to action stuff. Matt, you want to send, you've sent that out. We want to send that to the entire group.
Yeah.
So obviously, so you've done that open meeting law stuff.
Yep.
Just like send the document and that's it.
That's what I was gonna do.
No,
Yeah, I didn't know.
no.
Well,
don't-
you can put the header on the subject line that what it is, so we can
Yeah, we
search it
can.
easily.
What you can't do is say, I think this is great, we should do it,
Yeah,
or this, whatever. You
Thank
have
you.
opinions, here is a document, and then we'll post it for the next meeting, and once it's posted, then we can talk about it
Understood.
in meeting.
Exactly. And Mike, that's why I was afraid to send your letter out via email.
Right.
Maybe I was wrong, but I was afraid that it would
Right.
be leading the discussion when we did have it.
Well, that's,
I guess it
I wasn't quite sure.
well, I wasn't quite sure either. And, I thought,
And then I didn't bring it up, so.
I thought it should have been published is the only way I could think of that it could be legally put out.
Yeah.
And so when that didn't happen and we didn't talk about it,
Yeah.
I got frustrated in a whole lot of ways and there were, our meetings had kind of got into a free for all, where people were interrupting each other and there were a couple of things that I wanted to say that I just couldn't find a way to get into the conversation. And one of them, I pretty strongly objected to what was proposed, that we didn't talk to the public about what was going on here. I personally think we ought to be in the public's face with everything we're doing.
Yeah.
And
I
I think that's kind of what maybe the old committee didn't do real well. I think they did an awful lot of outreach to find out what the public wanted in the changes. But and maybe I was just not paying attention, but I never knew much about what was going on here until we heard there was going to be a vote, and then it was already, ballots are being printed and there wasn't time to talk about it. Now, I know that there've been a lot of I suspect that the people that came to these outrage kind of meetings and so forth were people that wanted to see something done here. And some people don't know what they don't want to see until they see it coming. So
Probably a lot of people there.
so I there's probably a pretty small number of people. I know I did read, talk about minutes. I did read through or scan through most of the minutes of the meetings just to see what they had done. And I think back in 2001, they had some kind of a visioning conference. I don't know if Amy was part of that, where people came in and they had a list of all the things that people said they'd like to see in the new bid.
I didn't realize this project had been going on that long.
Yeah, it was quite, it turns out that what actually ended up in this proposal was very close to what people said they wanted. So it wasn't that they weren't asking people, but I think it wasn't going the other way and people didn't know what they were doing. And I see, and when they finally did come out with a proposal, they really tried to sell it. But the sales pitch that I got was that what a wonderful building this was going to be. We're just going to gut the insides and build a new one inside that old skin. There wasn't a lot about why it was needed, I didn't think. So I just think step by step going through as we're doing things, we ought to be letting the public know what we're doing as much as possible. And I don't think trying to do it in secret is the way to go. I think a few other committees here that have come up and proposed something to do with the intersection over here. And when the public heard about it, that went away. And I don't know if it's the same thing, but I just see things that I just think being open as much as we can and letting everybody know what we're doing is the right thing. So that was,
I'd like to speak to that when you're done.
okay. And in that same line, I think there were people in the old committee, plus people that came in that had a vision, had things they wanted to accomplish here. And that was all great, but we can't do it all. We don't have the money. And so I think prioritizing the changes here based on that, I tried to do that in some of the things I've written down as a first thing the committee can talk about whether that's right or not. But putting that in front of the public and saying, you know, we really would like to do this, but we don't have the money now. And so we know these are some of the things you proposed that you'd like to see back 2 years ago, but they aren't quite, this is why we can't do them. So those are the kind of things that I wanted to say that I just couldn't find a way to bring into the conversation.
I do know that if the public gets mixed messages, you send something out, you send something out, you know, somebody else sends something out individually or a commentary, which you're certainly all free to do.
Yeah.
It can cloud the issue, not to anyone's advantage. So I'm worried. That was really what I was trying to say. I guess I didn't say it very well, but Front Porch Forum tends to be almost a debate forum. That's why I guess they call it a forum. But when somebody posts something, you'll get a response.
Yeah.
If it's of any interest to anybody, you'll get a response. Well, then somebody is responding to that response or to the original writer, and it can take on a life of its own that isn't managed by anyone. You know what I mean? It's a free-for-all discussion that goes wherever it wants to go, and that's what we don't need for PR for the town center committee. If it's an organized or put together, well thought out pitch, absolutely put it out. It should go wherever and everywhere that.
So I have a question for Mike, kind of based on that, because I think there's a balance between all of us just shooting a front porch forum post out every time we have a thought,
Right,
and all of
right.
us not ever posting at all.
Well, it's somewhere in between.
Front porch
Hopefully,
forum is easy.
more
to-
towards the group post,
Yeah.
yeah.
Front porch forum is easy to say, like, that's our communication, because it's just the one that comes to mind. But in
Yeah.
any way, I mean, obviously, we all should be having conversations with
Mhm.
everyone we
You know,
talk to about it, but
This is
would
a
it
good
make
time
sense
to
to
have
have a
this conversation.
bi-weekly? What are your thoughts?
Well,
Where
yeah,
does that balance
well,
land
yeah,
for you?
well, we have to be careful to start with
Mhm.
getting into conversations because of the open meeting law rules.
well, we're publicly.
We
accessible.
are now in the
Yeah.
meeting, but as far as you were to get on Front Porch Forum with something and people
In all
come
of
back
us
and
are.
whatever,
Exactly.
especially if any of
I
people
guess
on
I
the
was
committee.
thinking more-
You can, but we.
Yeah,
can't.
Yeah, right.
individually, I was hoping
That's
that everyone
exactly
would
right.
have these conversations, but.
Right,
Mm.
and so I don't think that we should all just randomly put out all different opinions and so forth, but when we can agree on something, or even if we can't agree, and we're stating that, I think that's
Yeah.
a valuable thing to have out there as well, but
I just suggest one thing.
What, Mike, I'm curious, like, as someone who wasn't on the committee before, like, what do you feel like is the most effective forum to do that communication with the public? Like, as you can see,
yeah.
we meet
We're going-
every other Wednesday.
We're
and
going in
nobody's here.
there, and people, how many people are on here
Yeah.
tonight?
And
You know,
the meeting
you know,
is-
and how many people are in the audience
is
that we
posted, the
just
notice is
isn't
posted
getting
on
out,
Front
and
Porch
so
Forum.
something like Front Porch Forum does do it. I think
kinda
it
works
has to be,
great.
it has to be, I think maybe,
It's like a rabid dog.
I
It has to be.
I think in Front Porch Forum has to be in small doses. You know, when I see a Front Porch Forum page that goes on for 2 pages, I kind of scan through that quickly and go to the end. And so I don't think you can put an awful lot in there, but maybe you do it frequently, but I think it has to be something that
I think
that is talked about in the meetings, I mean, somehow.
this is something that needs to be solved up front because as time goes on, there's gonna be more and more decisions or facts brought out. So this is the time to address this right now. Maybe it's the first issue.
I think when this was first brought up, I took it personally, and thought it was directed at me, and I said that at the meeting. I do agree with you, and I was on the side of you with the fact that the transparency issue or the feeling like, the prior committee was making decisions and saying, we're not going to talk about anything else. We're going to focus on this project. This is a big project. We don't want your little opinions. We don't want to change anything. This is where we're going because we had those public meetings and we listened to everybody. So we're taking and we're going with this project. And it was not told to us that they were blowing a budget and thinking that we were going to vote on something that was originally, I think some of the higher numbers that we heard were 10.2 until they took the solar panels off the roof, but left the roof structure changes in place for the solar panels to get down to 9.8. I don't need, and so that feeling of the committee just wanting to get below $10 million because they thought the bond vote would go there, and that's what rumor mill had it, wasn't fair to the public for having developed that and worked on it for 5 years or how many years it's been, because this isn't the first, we're like committee number, whatever number, because the committee that did the bond vote is not the original
Right.
committee. There was a committee before that. So when you go back to 2001, there was a committee in 2001. So, I mean, we can joke about it all we want, but little has been done to this structure in the past 20 to 30 years. Very minimum things have been done because there's been no capital plan. So I 100% agree with you. I think we should do some kind of front porch forums, but I think where I was at with this committee was getting an understanding of what did we know, I'm still in my data gathering information side of things. Like I said before, I wasn't ready to make any decisions, but I agree with you. I really think we need to have shout outs to the public to say, hey, we're going to talk about this issue on the next meeting. We really want your input because we haven't made decisions because the previous committee didn't want your input because they were already in a path and going in a direction of
That was my next
dream
question.
vision.
What do we think so reasonable? So should we obviously, there's a front porch forum post that says we're having a meeting that Duncan puts out. But that's different. I think those they don't have the same weight as someone posting making an actual post that just highlights the one or two big topics that we're.
We
going
need your
to
help
go
with.
into.
We need your help with this
Exactly.
topic.
We want your input specifically on these topics.
And
There's
we're
lots of items, but these.
We're
two
gonna
things-
open the meeting with it and we'll do all the rest of our other work afterwards, but we want you to come in for the first half hour of this meeting and give us your input on topics. I don't
As
think
a
we can,
committee, is that something we want to do? Is we want to put together a little thing that after every meeting, it's like a one paragraph of what we decided. And then
Yeah.
before every meeting,
for
one
me, it's
paragraph.
premature because I don't know what I need the public's help with because I haven't collected all my
Sure.
data yet. I haven't really started to develop any ideas.
After this meeting, we received drove of documents from the previous committee. We're still reviewing them. The documents are available publicly on our committee's website.
Link.
Please join us the next meeting. If you review or you have questions about the documents, we will be doing the same thing. Just so that
I
people.
lose people. They don't really care. It was hard enough for us to
Yeah.
get those documents.
yeah.
They don't want to have any, wait till we have a true question that we want to say, hey, listen, we've got now collected this information. We need your input.
Yeah, we're starting to formulate a path forward. We want your input on that.
I mean,
path forward.
we haven't even decided if we're staying with the previous plan or scrapping it and talking about other options. We haven't got to that point yet because I still don't have all the information.
What do you think, Mike?
When something is put out publicly, there should be a full structure underneath,
Call of
it, not
action.
just a couple of legs and,
Come
because
help
then
us.
questions come up, you can't answer them. Shakes people's confidence. So
Yes.
if we're wrong on everything,
We
okay,
want
let's
to,
start
we want to
over.
do that, not at this point, but we'll get to the point in the next few meetings, hopefully, where we have a substantial question that we want input on, and we should make that post.
Can I suggest one thing? I think the option of phasing the project came up somewhere back previously to cut the thing into several pieces that could be standalone. Like, let's say,
Yeah.
just the easy example, replace all the windows. All right, that's not $10 million. It's like 4, but that can be done independently of other work, and it will improve the energy efficiency. It'll improve air leakage, all the stuff. It's a small piece, and on its own, it's not a renovation, but it can be voted up or down without affecting the rest of the work. And if the public is told this up front that we're going to propose this in phases, maybe they'll be a little more patient and wait to see what all the phases look like and assemble it in their own minds.
I'm not even there yet.
Yeah, well, great.
Go ahead,
but
Mike, what do you got?
I think it's a good idea if
This is a good one.
yeah, hang on. I want to roll. If we come up with a total again that's similar to the previous bond vote, people are going to remember that. They go, well, nothing got accomplished. Prices went up. That's
I have no
we're
plan to
spending
do
less. We
that.
spend just
I have-
money.
100% can say I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
Knock $10 off. and
No,
Right.
not happening under my watch.
Yeah. Okay.
But why are we doing anything to this building?
To me, in a couple of words, I want to understand what we need to do to ensure the asset to the town. Cara just said, we haven't done anything in years.
Mhm.
What I want to do is make sure we protect the asset
You
and
don't have to
keep,
say nothing, because people get really mad
Yeah,
that
yeah,
they change the
right.
ceiling tiles.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
I want to protect the asset, keep it to code, and make sure rising waters don't prevent safety problems and damage.
I want to retain our employees.
Yeah.
Because they put up with a lot here day after day.
Which I think would,
I think that's one of the things we need to put out to the public. Why do we need to do anything to this building?
I think that's a fair
Yeah,
statement.
that's the reason for all the.
What started this? Why are we doing it?
what are the minimum we want to.
And we all kind of know, or we think we know, and most people do, but I think putting something out and say, these are the real problems of this building that we need to correct.
I think that's,
And why how did we get here?
that's why I'm here.
Yeah,
And I think, again, to your point, right? To me, solar panels wasn't ensuring the asset, right? I want to make sure this building stays around. I want to make sure it's a great part of our town.
I beg to differ on the retain the employees. We have had a town clerk and we have had a town administrator and town clerk, and we've had a lot of employees. For the safety of those employees is key for me, but the retaining of employees is a misconception I feel that the select board historically has given for reasons to do things. Because the position that has turned over the most has been the zoning administrative officer, and I think we go through those like almost on a 2-year rotation, because it's a position that
It's pretty thank, it's the most thankless job.
Right.
After 2 years of targeting.
It's
the worst
the
job.
position, right? It's the position.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've had Duncan for a number of years, which I'm very thankful to. So mine is about the safety for the employees and the safety for the public. I think it's a much better PR
Yeah.
than, because we've just given them raises 3 years ago or 4 years ago. And some of those raises have totaled up to, in the past 3 years, to a 40% pay increase. So that's not the same message I want to give to the public as far as I'm concerned. It's about safety. We will retain them if it's a safe work environment and it's a comfortable work environment. That's a big difference.
Healthy work environment.
It's
You know,
less safety for me.
Yeah, if we maintain it, well, a lot of the issues that we say, we're retaining employees, because like no one wants to work here with the ceiling like this and
Right.
stuff, but if we maintain it well, those issues will not pop up and it'll be a safer work environment.
Well, somebody's not leaving because they have brown ceiling tiles, okay?
Gary, that's.
The air conditioning not working at my work, I mean, this is how I dress to go to work, so the fact that I have in a building in Burlington that's having a problem with good HVAC system that's supposedly brand new and one part of the room is freezing cold while another one is
Yeah.
warm, it happens everywhere, so you're not losing employees because of the HVAC system. But I want it to be safe, and I think I'm going back to Matt's list of things. So rather than retain employees, I'd rather have a safe working environment, safe, healthy. I don't mind adding the word.
Could I ask you to put in productive
Wonderful
also?
question.
Because when
That's what we're here
people are
for.
cold or
Yeah.
hot,
What are we here for?
they're going to be not concentrating on what they're doing as much.
Yeah, but I've got that where I am too. So productive, I don't want to measure somebody's productivity because we don't measure it now. So I'm not going to be able to measure, did this help their productivity if we
Well,
don't measure
I
it
still
now?
think we need to.
Fire
leave-
alarms going off every day, all day, and like Duncan having to take 45 minutes out of his workday to figure out why the fire alarms are going off and the Bluetooth is not working, and he gets one set going and then the other set go off. Like
Yeah.
productivity for some of the employees is affected by this
But
building.
it's not
Yes, yes,
measurable
yes.
is my.
It's hard to measure, yes, but
That's my key, but
but I-
safety we
yeah.
can measure.
Mhm.
That's
Uh,
all I'm trying to say, is not put out
Yeah.
things that aren't measurable. Because if we want to be successful, it's how do you protect the asset? It's measurable how you can protect it by
Garrett,
putting certain
can I
things
add
in
one
place.
thing to the list? I think we need to lay out the reasons for doing this so that when we get down the road, we can point to what we have done back to the reasons for doing it, so we can connect the dots all the way to the end.
And
I
I
think
will
that's-
say, to
that's
Kara's point, if we're
something-
gonna do that and we're gonna come up with reasons to do this, and we're
Mhm.
going to point back to them at a later point, they
Mhm.
do have to be pretty quantitative.
We can gather them now and get quantities or quantification as we go.
And everyone's threshold on it is different. I know from my threshold versus yours, Matt's, whoever. I
Mhm.
mean, everyone's willing to accept some qualitative info, but
Yeah.
everyone's
Mhm.
threshold on that is a little different. And some people are not at all, but some people
Yeah.
will come in and look and say, oh,
Yeah.
everyone was sitting at their desk typing all day. It's great, totally worth the money. So.
The cost figure will be the number that
I
people.
swing back to Matt's list and stuff like that, because I 100% agree with the list that you are generating here. And I think that's important. And I think why to the public is a very ideal question to start with. I don't know if I'm ready to answer that question tonight. I want to think
Yeah.
about it and stuff like that. But if that's part of our homework assignment for everybody, why to the public, and we all come together with what our thoughts are, just like Matt just gave us his. You might have additional when we actually go to do this. But I think that gives us the opportunity to really think about it and have the right messaging go out that we're looking for. So I appreciate that, Mike, that's that's ideal. I like that idea, is asking the question or asking a question to the public, or providing a question with the answers that we have come up with as we're moving along.
It's
in
gonna
this
be,
process.
for next week, everyone wanna,
I have it on the to-do list.
for everyone, yeah, think about what you want, jot it down in anywhere from 1 to 3 sentences. And then we'll,
I was gonna say, in the teams I run, so I have a funny profession that applies in a lot of ways here. I build manufacturing assets. By definition, they do exactly the thing that you spec them to do. There's no nice to haves. There's no, it's what do we need at the lowest possible dollar. When you're building an airplane, you need a different thing. You're building coffee, you need a different thing. You're building a car. One of the things I do with my team, and this may be, this is very, we're leading to this, is a single sentence of a mission. What is our mission statement? And so I think what we're trying to develop here is essentially a mission statement for the committee. I think that's really smart. So I think to contextualize it, if everyone could come up with, they think that our mission statement is here, we can come in and maybe we adopt a mission statement that we put on the wall over there or something, and we always check ourselves against saying, why are we here? Let's recenter ourselves here. Why are we doing this? We are doing this for this reason that we all agreed upon. I think that's how I'm gonna look at this. And I think if we, 1 to 2 cents is usually the 3, whatever. If we can have that, I think that's the right thing. It'll ground us a little bit every time we're in the room, and it'll, I think, clarify. I think my question is awesome. It'll clarify what the hell we're doing and make sure that we're checking ourselves.
Basic question.
It's such a basic but wonderful question.
The military changes their mission from time to time.
Yeah, it's rare.
They can do whatever they can.
Can I ask a question on that for clarification, if you
Yeah.
don't mind, Matt, because I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying.
Okay.
The original committee had to determine whether this building, this asset.
Yep.
Was worth keeping, selling, doing something different with.
Yeah.
Building a new asset. Those questions were all out there. And that's where I'm at with the mission is, I'm not sure if
Mhm.
my vision coming into this, which can change, I said it's limited data, was to potentially, are we just gonna maintain this structure and do neglected maintenance that hasn't been done over the years to bring it to a stable situation that we can then do a capital plan moving forward for all the future maintenance? Or are we looking at, should we have considered doing a different building? Do we need to really have as much space as what we have in this building and doing all the services we are? And that's where discussion started in a previous meeting with Mike as well. He wanted to know, are we keeping all of the tenants that we have, and what are we thinking on that side of things? And I said, I wasn't ready to even talk about that
Yeah.
yet. So for me, the question of why are we doing this for the public is, if we're going to keep this asset, we have to take care of it. We have to protect our asset, like protect our assets is what Adam had said last time. But is that exactly what we're doing?
And can I also add a layer to that, Cara, is the previous committees have always operated under the assumption that we are ultimately studying the issue to make a recommendation to the select board, who actually makes the decision about, are we keeping this building? Are we renovating this? Like,
Correct.
we do not make the decision. We say, here's the information that we have, we present to the select board, like in that December meeting that I shared the minutes with. And then the select board ultimately made the decision, we're going to preserve this building. The select board made the decision of, we need space for all of the current tenants. Like, that was not our decision. That was a select board decision. And are we seeking to change that charge, or are we going to remain an advisory
And can I
board to the
ta-
select
and
board?
can I talk on that? Because I think the public vote might have reset the select board and everybody else's decision that was previously made. It should have opened up rescoping and re-looking at, like, the way I saw those Black River plans was a dream. If you went to all your tenants and said, what can we do to make you happy?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You pay us $1 a year, but what can we do to make you happy? And we built in everything into, that's where we go to the need basis versus the necessary versus the icing on the cake. And so that's where I'm like trying to process
Yep.
with my head is, I don't know if the select board has told us, this committee, this new committee, you must do this based on their new public input. And Mike used the 4-way stop sign as an example, right? Public input is changing select board decisions. I don't know if the select board is 100% where they were before.
So that might be something
There-
we
I-
need to
I
bring
can
to the
answer part of
select
that
board
for you.
before we
The
go.
Select board has said the existing tenants must be provided for.
They have in the past.
No, I mean, this is 2 months ago.
That's the past.
Okay. You're right. But it's the
That was
most recent information we have.
after the bond vote, but I don't remember
Mhm.
us talking about it formally. Have we talked
We
about it?
haven't gone down a list, you
No.
know, of how much we're getting and all this stuff, but the tenants. Radiate Art Space is a favorite of the town, and politically, it has to be provided for. I
So
can tell you
should
that.
we ask, sorry, Mike, you had something to say on that.
On top of all of that, I moved to Richmond in 1986, and shortly after that, there was a similar discussion going on here about whether to tear down that old school building that we don't use any longer in the church over here and build new buildings. And the town administration, I'm not sure exactly who, probably the select board at the time, had decided that's what they wanted to do. And there was public outcry. There was all kinds of, it ended up with some dueling proposals at a meeting and a public vote where it was overwhelmingly, I believe, agreed by the voters in the town to keep this building and the church. And I'm not sure that was strictly a financial decision at the time. I spent a long time. I don't remember all the details, but that was a decision of the voters that we would keep this building. And now it's a different time and different voters. But to me, if we were going to change the position of the voters, we ought to go back to the voters again and ask them for that decision.
Because otherwise that is the history.
And not with a bond vote.
And not with a bond vote,
An
but
advisory question before
Yeah.
they put all the work to do this crap.
Yeah.
Right, and it might be that the mission, I mean, if the select board tells us this is what your mission is, then those of us who might want to be a little public with, is this really what, I don't want to spend 5 years on a mission that I don't think that's what the public wants.
I agree.
And I'm going to be very clear about that. I do not think the
Be
public
wasted
wants us to
time
spend.
effort,
Yeah,
including the
yeah.
select-
$5 million.
Yeah, that's what lingers after that is, well, everybody wasted a lot of time, so. yeah.
Because I mean, when things are pointed out, like the value of the brand new building next door that Buttermilk has built compared to the $10 million remodel of this building, the voters were like, what?
I mean, to be fair, we did ask that question of Brendan if they had a cost estimate, and he said based on their current, this is off topic, but their current cost estimate, they estimated that building would cost, they said it was like 7.2 million. Cost them to build it, and they figured it would cost about 13 to build right now.
Which,
Brand new.
that's all fine and dandy, so I don't know why they're value on the grand list at 2.
I mean,
And grand list just came out
I
brand
couldn't
new.
build a single person's house in town for their grand list value right now. There's not, myself included.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know any of your houses.
That's
but
a
I guarantee
separate
if you
problem
told
that we
me
don't control.
the cost of the grand list value, and I gave you an estimate, they would not. win.
My-
Which is just the market right now.
my house was reappraised and went up considerably last year.
Last year.
And my neighbor down the road just passed away, and they just sold his house for which I think is worth somewhat less than mine, for considerably more than mine, and it sold in one day.
Not a single house that I've seen sell in Richmond, really any of the towns around here, have I built a house that costs that recently, including like the $980,000 house on on Milo White Road. We just built a $1.5 million house that's smaller and simpler. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm not saying that that's a good
just saying-
barometer, but just
It's,
construction's out of whack right now. And
so it makes you go, why were we considering doing what we were gonna do if construction is out of whack right now?
It's gonna be less out of whack in the foreseeable future. I think that yes. Construction costs aren't gonna come down.
No. And if we have a plan, we don't have to educate it.
Educated guess is that bad for them. There's a big check on the whole thing. So the shorts, to sum up, I don't think that we're gonna ride this out for a few years and save some money. It's,
Oh, no, I was not implying that
I
at
don't think
all.
there's gonna be a market correction and construction's gonna get cheaper at any point. So-
No, but so just like you're saying, the value of that building is this whole remodel, moving walls around and stuff like that is potentially not necessary if we're gonna
Yeah.
look at what we're trying to accomplish, so based on the
Yeah, I
needs.
think that's,
The needs, and then we might look at the ability to, I'm gonna use Josh's office, for example. Nobody needs an office that size.
I think that was in all this, in the
Right.
design of the proposal is.
Yeah, I
There's a
saw
difference
that.
between adding walls versus gutting everything and taking it
Right.
down to the studs to
Right.
do this new design. And I think that's what's in my head is if we're keeping
Yeah,
this building, if that's what our mission is to accomplish protecting this asset, then it's as simple as that for me. How do we go about, the plans can go in many different directions, but if the mission is just to keep this asset as a town-owned building for town offices, specifically to start with, that's this primary focus,
Yeah, there's a big difference between a remodel and a gut, a complete gut. And we can remodel without gutting, and I think that the previous proposal was a comprehensive gut job, which may or may not have been needed, I don't know, anyway.
So that's where my head was, is when you go to the mission, I like that idea, but it's almost like once we develop it before we publish it, it's to go to the select board, and I don't know which the chicken or the hen here, what we're supposed to be doing, because I haven't heard it directly from the select board. But I can go with the assumption that we're keeping this building. I'm okay with that. But I would want it backed up by the select board because they're the ones who got all the emails.
That assumption too, not having talked to everyone about it, and I think we should get that backed up. I agree.
Because if they're hearing emails from other people that are coming in and saying something different, I don't know that.
I think, I don't know that now's the time to make that decision. I think that whether or not we build this building, redo this building, or build some new one, we still need to know what we could redo this building for. We need it to compare with what a new building would be. So I think we need to progress with the process we're going through now to see what we can do to reduce the cost of this building to come up with a number. And if someone comes up with another proposal, then we can say, well, this one costs whatever $1 million and that one does. That's part of a
The piece of the
decision.
puzzle that you're missing though is the sale of this building, the sale of this asset for save somebody, because one of the ideas.
Well, that's part of the deal, but
One of the ideas that was kicked around was, this would be an ideal for, senior housing and the elevator and the size of it and to put in small. That was just an idea that the public put out there, right? So I'm just saying the sale of this asset going toward the new, but I'm not looking to do that. That's not, but I listened to all of those ideas.
But that could be part of a new proposal. I mean, say, okay, we're gonna build a new building wherever, and we're gonna sell this one. That's a different proposal that you would compare with the numbers that we come up with here to do the renovations to this building. It seems like we need to go through the process to figure out what's a reasonable cost to make this building something we could use. And then if there's any others to compete with it, then we'll see.
I talked to Jeff Ford and Jeff says we need to have BRD come in and explain their work. He says you cannot understand the relationships between the pieces of the work that they did without them pointing them out and essentially leading us down that path. So before we go very far, it sounds like good advice that Jeff gave.
I guess I'm stuck on it seems like we're stuck going down this path of we want to know which building, if we're going to stick with this building, or another one, but we also want to know the cost of both of these. Yeah. And what the magnitude of that cost would be, which is contingent upon us figuring that out because we're going to rescope this project. So I'm in my mind, I'm a little stuck on how we get moving on that.
Black River had cost comparisons in December of 2022 that we presented to the select board. I don't know if you want to start from those cost comparisons or if you want them to come in and explain those cost
At
comparisons.
some point, they need to come in. I'm convinced of it at this point. I know we don't want to spend.
I don't need to look at the cost comparatives.
Kara, please. I won't talk during your talk and then don't talk during the please. That's rule one. My rule. The Black River design has a lot of intricate connections from this piece to this piece. We talked for one thing about phasing the work. So some pieces could be expendable or we put them off if the voters want. That can't happen either unless we know what can be severed and what can't. And I think it's a complex enough design that Black River did that we need to understand it before we start making progress on it. Thanks.
Go, Cara. Thank you for waiting.
I appreciate you bringing up that the comparison was there. I'm not looking to compare this to a new building yet. My mission in my head is I think we're looking at doing the maintenance and the work and the capital plan for this structure.
Yep.
So I don't really want to go off on that tangent. I'm not looking to go that way. I'm just saying that we hadn't as a group discussed it before we discussed a mission. So I think focusing the mission on the saving of this structure is where my heart is and where my mind is. And that I do not wish to go back to Black River Designs and their presentations because I feel like the scoping side of things of what we might find, of what we need to do on those key things from what Matt has brought up is where my mind is. And when I looked at the Black River documentation and Black River's design is a vision and a dream. It's not my reality. And I don't think I want to hear about the dream and the details of it until I see more documentation. And I found nothing in their documentation for the list of safety issues and a prioritization of those. I found that they went to their tenants and got their dreams. They went to the public and got their dreams. And like Mike said, it became the vision and it became the project, and that was built based on. They listened to the public that had come and participated, and they built it. They did what they were asked to do. I'm being asked to do something else. I'm being asked to take, instead of approving $9.8 million, how can we save this building? What are the key things we need to do? And I don't want a presentation at this point in time until I see those list of safety things. And what I found was on the documentation that was sent for the individual, can you remind me what his name was? Who's the owner, representative?
Jay LaBear.
LaBear?
Yeah.
Okay. That document that that you provided, that was a signed contract from 2021, had a list, that's the closest that I got to a list of items that were a priority that needed to be fixed in this building that I can find in any documentation. So from the very beginning, I've said I need to understand what the true safety, whether we define that as OSHA or something else, what those needs were, and that's where I
I've got a
was.
question for you. Are there some,
Mike's got
It- You know,
okay,
so-
well, can I just ask
Okay,
a
go
question?
ahead.
It's right to what you said. Is there anything on that list, do you think, here that could be fixed as a maintenance cost or something outside of a new building budget or?
I mean, I don't think,
Many.
we're quite there yet, though. I mean, we're still talking about like coming up with our
Okay.
mission statement and stuff, so.
Well, on the Justin, on that, sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The LaBear,
LaBear.
LaBear,
LaBear.
LaBear list, there are things that I felt, so I'll answer that question, yes.
Okay.
So
Maybe that's.
short term, it sounds like we're all in agreement. I don't think it doesn't sound like everyone is 100% set on this building, but everyone acknowledges that we need to come up with a proposal to save this building of some magnitude. At least at minimum to be a comparison and possibly to be an actual proposal. So is that something we want to ask the select board to clarify for us and just, sit, I don't know however we want to word that, but get that clarified so that we know exactly what our goal is, and we can form a mission statement and ask them to endorse it. We can have that, however we want to do that. Is that a reasonable step? So we have a formally approved mission
I
statement?
think
to go with?
that's right.
Yeah.
I'm good with drafting the
It's a
mission
political question.
Yeah.
and then asking them to approve the mission that we, as a committee, our heart is behind working on. I mean, I think that's what you do, is you take your passion and you work from there. So if we can agree amongst ourselves what we think a proposed mission would look like, and then have you take it to the select board for their direction, approval, whatever it may be, I think it's a sound way to start.
What were you gonna say, Mike?
Oh.
You look like you got something.
If I can remember.
Sorry.
As far as safety issues, I've seen nothing in anything I've seen about safety issues that are small enough that we could do anything about. The safety issues I see is that if we have a fire, up on this floor, we have to go climb out the window to get to the fire escape. There's no sprinkler systems in here. The fire alarm does weird things, and I think they did something to improve it, but it still isn't there.
Hasn't worked real well.
So those are things that, the committee's been aware of, but they didn't have the resources to do anything about. So I'm not aware of any safety issues, and we keep saying, it seems like the old committee just has let this building go for years. I don't know that that's true. I mean, they put a new roof on it. They've been doing what they could do with the money. And I think that if there were safety issues that were, they've taken care of them. As far as I can see, I'm not aware of any. Do you know any safety issues that?
Which
that
goes
need-
back to the PR of the previous committee about why this building had to have $9.8 million spent on it, because they said soot was coming out of ventilation systems. You all know, you all heard that and saw that. You had interviews with the town employees. if the fire alarms aren't working, that is a safety issue for me, 100%. I don't even have to put that on the
Yep.
top of this bottom list. It's on the list.
Fire
So
marshal would
I
carry
could
out.
come up with, and that's where all this information that I'm pulling and calling and reading, there are legitimate issues that should be addressed. And the previous years of all the work,
Right.
my point is they've been collecting money from the taxpayer every year, along with the tenant that they have in the building to do those repairs that haven't been
Right.
done. So we know, you can see this room hasn't been painted in 15 years. I mean, it's some basic maintenance that hasn't even been done. So it's not just safety, but it's all levels of the list.
I stopped into the town clerk's office here a couple of weeks ago and Linda was out on vacation that week, but I spoke to the assistant clerk that was in there and I asked her about the dust coming out of the things. And she says, I think somebody came in and cleaned those here a little while ago. So she says, I'm only part-time, but there were people climbing up and doing things and she wasn't sure what they were doing, but she thought they were cleaning the ducts.
So,
So they are doing some kind of maintenance, I believe. I'm not 100, she wasn't 100% sure what they were doing, but
so Adam, I think that's right. I think proposing what we come up with next meeting, the select board, making sure the select board's on the same page, gives a thumbs up there, gives us points an arrow in a direction for us that we can really run with.
Next select board meeting's July 1st, so it's next Monday.
Great.
So,
We
yeah.
won't have a
just-
mission for that one. It'll be their next select board meeting.
Okay, I mean, we.
So I'm just making notes of stuff for the next agenda. So I think that that's gonna be our biggest, it might actually not take that long. It sounds like we're very close. There'll probably be some wording issues. We're kind of in agreement. But we form a mission statement or what we perceive as a good, or we think is a good mission statement and we shoot it up the chain for approval.
All right.
I think that's gonna be our, maybe not the most time intensive process, but this can be our most important thing to do next meeting. I guess we have.
We have plenty of other to-do list things to review.
Tons of other stuff
Yep.
that can take up time, yeah.
And I just want to check that I have everyone's email to send this proposal out. I have Lisa,
I want to stare at it.
Adam.
That's
Lisa's
right.
resigning from the committee as
Okay,
of today.
so I'll leave Lisa off. So, I have you on this email.
Mike's not on the committee
I'm not,
anymore.
not
Not on-
officially on the
Great.
team. Might keep you in the
So I
back
have,
here.
great, I have you three and myself.
Correct.
Yes.
I'll send that right now.
And we're recruiting,
And we're
but we will
recruiting.
have to reduce the committee to 5 at least, so we can make quorum if someone's not here, because at this point,
You can.
the 4 of us, it has to be all 4 of us, if you're not.
Great.
Perfect. Thank you. I
Well, actually, I don't think it does. Because the vacancy doesn't count as a position.
think they just figured that out.
It's a majority of
It
the
does count,
filled
yeah.
seats.
The filled seats.
Is it
Yes.
filled seats?
I think it's
Oh,
the
okay.
majority of the filled
For
seats.
example, if
Yeah.
So 3 of us could
Yeah.
have.
if I leave, I'm erased from the roster, so you're now down
Yeah.
to
Gotcha, I
4.
didn't know that. I thought it was total proposed
Mm.
position.
There should be
Great.
majority of the,
Cool. Well, that makes it easy then, because not just having it just according.
if it gets down to 1, I think it's a problem, but.
It's called a monarchy.
Did you want to go through the list of to-do, did anybody, I mean, because Amy had sent stuff, that we had questions for Amy on hers, because I really appreciate everybody sending their information on their to-do list of things. Is there anyone in particular that you wanted to talk about, Adam? Because I'd love to go to
I
Amy.
don't have the list of to-do stuff in front of me, but I have my list. So does everyone have their stuff? Do you want to?
Yeah, and I have the to-do
You
list,
wanna
so,
call them off?
well, we can start with Amy's if that's okay.
Can I throw something out of left field? I got this email from Karen Yagi.
Oh, yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, is this something we wanna?
I think-
It's actually, you can have it. I can
Oh,
send it
okay,
around if
yeah.
you want.
Did you get that?
I don't know if there's anything
did, I
earth-shattering there,
think,
but if it's got information we didn't know otherwise, then there you go.
Might be useful later on down the road.
Shall we talk about it at our next meeting so that we
Yeah.
can publicly allow the public to see that first before we? So we put it on agenda item for
Okay, to
next
send
meeting.
it to,
I mean, did she ask us to do, I can't remember, I'm sorry, did she ask us to not read it at a meeting or anything like that, right?
No,
for us
I
to
don't
know?
think she has any requests in there. She was putting it out there, trying to be helpful.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
it's like, it's general thoughts, pretty well
Mhm.
articulated.
Yeah, well, quite well articulated.
Public comment.
Mhm.
It's kind of stated, this is what I know what happened.
Okay, so do we want to put it as an agenda item for the next meeting?
What?
The
Sorry.
Karen Yagi, because it's not on our to-do list. and I'd like to get to our to-do list.
I mean, I don't think she has any requests for action. It's just kind of thought.
He often has come to meetings in the past and
We
done
can
public
Put it in
comment,
the
so.
packet if it's okay with her.
I don't really like.
Just here,
I don't really like to-
I wanted to share my thoughts, so whatever that means exactly.
It's just public comment, right?
Yeah.
So can we just record it as public comment and then it'll be part of the minutes or whatever?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sounds right to me.
So it's part of the approved packet that'll be.
Oh, sure.
available
Thank you so much.
after the minutes.
I'd like, if we just put it on next
Okay, or just post-
agenda,
just post
it
the
can
next
get
agenda.
posted with all the other stuff.
Makes sense.
Yep,
Then
so
it's
it's
faster.
because we didn't read it during this one, we just addressed it to be on an agenda next time, so it isn't like we didn't warn something. So agenda, we've got that, and maybe that's a good lead into how we
yeah.
deal with that,
I was gonna say,
right? Adam, that might be a good lead into for us to discuss next time, how we deal with the public comments that are coming like that and what we should do with them.
I wish everybody would do this. I mean, it'd be a blizzard of stuff, but we'd know how they feel. But
Yeah.
people don't do that.
Um,
They assume we'll do the right
I'll
thing.
make the plug now to all the people listening. from
Yeah.
home, just like,
Yeah.
the
more we hear from you, the better. Even if-
Get for this.
Even if
I'll
we don't
read all
like
the
it, it's still
emails.
better.
I like reading the emails. It's great because you can read them, you can think about them, you can have a thoughtful response. It's not
Mhm.
like a,
Mhm.
someone caught you in the grocery store and you're like trying to pick an avocado with a screaming kid. Oh, sorry. It's great.
Perfect.
The emails or correspondence are awesome.
Can we jump to Amy's to-do now? Amy,
Do you have questions?
you had a point of clarification
Yep.
from our last meeting
Yep.
with regards to the town center fund and the library reserve fund. You had
Yes.
said that they were being combined.
Yeah, that's not the case.
And you
Yep.
corrected that in the documentation to us, so I just wanted to, for the
Yep.
recording, make
Yep.
sure everybody was aware of
Sure.
that. So that the two funds are separate.
Yep.
I might have questions down the road more about the library and how the funding is that going to be and
Sure.
what the public knows of that and how we're educating the public on that, but I don't feel it's a time now, but
Yep.
this was very helpful and I appreciate you
Yeah,
supplying
sure.
that information to us.
Great.
Which could lead into, because you brought up the topic of the owner's rep, who is,
Jay.
LeBear.
Yep.
Jay LeBear.
The bar,
LeBar, LeBear.
we should ask Jay.
Yeah.
And so that was very much which will lead into the conversation about, the documentation that you're going to provide to us for the next meeting as well. But that list that was in the contract I got the contract from Josh and forwarded to everybody, that's a list that I think we should, review and understand what was already listed and I would love it if he could come into one of our meetings or provide us in writing a follow-up on those contractual services that we had and where each project stands in it.
You meant Josh.
Jay.
Right.
Jay.
Jay,
Oh, right, that
Yep.
guy. Okay, sorry.
no,
Or
Jay.
Josh can provide the contract.
Well, no, we have the contract. I sent the contract to everybody. You have the contract, but in the contract, it has specific projects highlighted.
It's-
And I want updates on the projects, like maybe one of them has never been started, which I have a feeling that might be the case with the portico. And I want to know really what happened with that and why it was new. It's one of the newest things on this building and it's failed. So a little more about why and how that was.
Yeah.
So I'd appreciate that. So I think if you're okay with it, that's who I would like to hear from in the meeting.
Yeah,
Is,
sounds good. Do you want to, should we invite him to next meeting or is that too soon or?
I'd love to hear.
Yeah,
that-
he's
'cause it's a
come
list.
before. He's a nice guy.
Jay lives in town.
Yeah,
too,
he's
so
local.
He can come as.
I know, it's Richmond.
His vested interest in the project from being.
And that's to do a recap maybe or on his existing, on the contract. I don't know if the contract should get expired. I forgot to look at it.
That's a great question. The contract that, we made with him as the owner rep, to complete some of these different projects. And I know that he has worked on a bunch of them. Like he is involved in all the painting and the exterior work that's been going on the library this summer. So he's the one that's in contact mostly with Alex from Hunger Mountain. So I believe he is still working for the town.
Okay, so I wanted,
But a recap would be of
Yeah.
where he's at.
that'd be great.
Makes
'Cause, I mean, if he is working for the town still, we would be paying him to come to this meeting, so I would put him at the first thing of the agenda so that we could listen and then let him go and watch how much money we spend.
Invite him to come and.
Invite us up to the stage.
Kind of like a.
Love residents to come, you in particular.
Yeah, right.
Don't do this. I'm just kidding. So that, and which brings me to another question that came out of your numbers that you gave us, because
Okay.
you said for the FY 24 that the flooring, I think there was a,
Yeah, there's flooring
That's floor-
replacement being done in the library.
but you had it in FY 24, but it was budgeted for capital plan for FY
That's
25.
Yep, there's flooring in all of the years because it's different parts of the library flooring.
Okay.
So like right now, what's being done is tile replacement in the bathroom. That's actually happening in no, that's happening now, I think. One thing's happening in September and one thing's happening now. But it's tile replacement in the bathrooms and it's carpeting in like the entryway and stuff. And then the future years, the community room floor needs to be refinished and
Yep.
there's whatever additional carpet replacement will be needed by that point in the cycle.
And that's what I just wanted, sometimes the full budget wasn't being used, but you were using it in a different year, so that's all good, and I went through that, I read your stuff, so thank you,
Yeah,
I
thank you.
appreciate it.
Welcome.
But like that, the library has decided that flooring replacement as a need is being done in a phase situation, so when we're looking at different things here, we can keep that in mind, that that's being successfully done there. So yeah, agenda was Jay, thank you, I think the contract was helpful for us to see, I'm so glad you pointed out that we have an owner's rep. Doesn't mean we will keep this, doesn't mean that we won't have other projects or other things that we look at potentially with Art and what his
Yeah,
discussion
and I
would
haven't
be.
had a chance, that was one, do you have more stuff you want to go over? Or should
I don't think so. Just if people have questions, really. So
So that was one of, to roll off that,
Mhm.
so to talk with Jay, I haven't had a chance to talk with him about what his, you know, desired / qualifications are to be involved as an owner rep for like a more broad, a bigger, more involved construction project.
Yeah.
But that is on my list of stuff to do this week.
and his contract was out to bid. We had 2 or 3 different people that submitted responses to the RFP for an owner's rep.
Okay.
So he was the one that was
Great.
chosen.
Yeah.
So
So there's potential that we would need another, depending on how the project works out, we would need separate rep specifically for a bigger model project or.
Or other projects, like
Okay.
he finishes out the ones that are on the list that he's been contracted to do, and anything outside that, we might have to go elsewhere. If he doesn't have the time or
Mhm.
doesn't want to do it, but if he wants to do it as a Richmond resident and his bid is with Art,
Do we have drawings of this building?
yes, they
Yeah.
exist. I
Original
believe
drawings?
we've
'Cause
looked
Black
at them.
River
I
did.
don't
Just
think
layout.
has them, but Josh would know.
hold on, we got
Skin.
2 people talking.
Yeah, so that was gonna be one of my things that,
Hmm.
I don't know how we track this down as an action item or who we assign to, who the best person is. We have, you know, this like cost comparison and there's a bunch of comparisons and short budgets. But how do we get this, like, I always hear, I guess Jeff in particular here, but this 190 line item budget. How do we get that?
Yeah.
And also the set of comprehensive drawings for all the different proposals. They said, well, it's different drawings. Like, how do we get those? I know that they're huge PDF files. These huge files, but how do we get those?
Aren't those the ones that are on?
Everything that
Did I
Josh
miss
got
them?
from
Plan.
River Design.
Yeah,
I
is
couldn't-
I think
I
the
couldn't-
plan options document that's on the related files, I
That,
think
is
that's
that
all the
most
different.
detailed? Because I heard about all these like really detailed drawings and those are not.
Well, I don't think we went to that point of actually doing engineering drawings for, you know, because we
I mean,
that-
not
that
even
would have been a-
engineering drawings, just,
pay them in sort of thing.
No, they weren't engineering drawings.
so
what you're-
I just assumed there would be.
Plan
more
options, you're right.
Yeah, there's
There's
plan
some
options,
kind
there's program SD program layouts. That's all the different
Okay.
options that they presented us with originally. So we have
Yeah.
those documents.
The actual cost sheet that we can dig into.
I'll just go add up all these numbers, which is mildly annoying, but doable. That'll give us the total square feet of the building. They have square footage
Oh,
for
yeah,
each.
so there's a.
For each
square foot
room.
Comparison on it that shows you the total square foot of the building. It
Great.
shows the existing
Just
square
must have
footage. of
missed
each
it.
This is, I think, what you're looking,
whatever service person.
is that the one you're looking for? The one that Jeff talked, it's under fees, it's like page 18 of the feasibility scope outline. This is the
Went
three
through
hundred
the
line item, I
message.
think,
Yeah,
saying that Jeff was
where-
talking
where
about.
is that?
It's
I-
under
I'm glad it's there.
so
It's
it's
just me not being able to-
feasibility scope outline,
I read the whole
this
thing.
one, and then you've got to go to page 18 to find that. So it's a 23-page document. So
Gotcha, that explains what you find it. Matt and I were talking. I
Yep.
can't find
there's
it.
a whole bunch of different
Okay.
things in this. So
So it is there. Great.
Yep, okay, so
Cool.
so far, the two things you guys just asked about, the question has been answered and we don't need
Great.
anything else
This is so
for
much
you for
different
those
from
two.
the last previous meetings where we ask questions, we don't get answers. Great. And then the other things, fire marshal, still not. Jesse still is not gonna come out and inspect it for us without a complaint. Basically, it's like, you gotta stop bugging me about this, call me when you have your metal building inspection. So,
Couldn't say that to anyone else.
yeah, so those, yeah. No.
So your to-do list,
Yes, my to-do list, the energy audit. Apparently we have an energy audit scheduled. And we need to see that through. There was one done a while ago, like many years ago, like enough years ago that it was, Jeff said it's obsolete. and we
when
have to
was
do
the
it.
last one? We asked for a date.
I want to say it was 2003, something like that.
And so they didn't do an energy audit before they did a $9.8 million bond recommendation.
I think the energy audit, some of the envelope stuff was still usable up the previous one, but the audit based on like solar and electrical, all that stuff was not.
I'd like a copy of the,
So the recommendation was, and I agree with this, is we should get an energy audit. So
not saying you shouldn't, I'd still like a copy of.
I
The last
didn't even
energy
try to
audit.
track it down. So I'm gonna go off the assumption that we just don't have one, because I haven't seen it, so I think we should get a new one done, is my take on it. So if you want to track it down, it's fine, but I mean, I'm not gonna beat my head on the wall.
I will make that, I'll put that on Kara's to-do list because documentation is everything. When we're able to say, this is the energy audit from this date, this is the energy audit that's been redone. And if nothing's changed or very limited has changed, then why would we do an energy audit another energy audit if we didn't make any changes to the structure of the building?
Recommendations, the audit and the recommendations and how audits are performed nowadays is pretty significantly different than it was.
Could
once
be,
ago.
that there's the reason when the public asks the why, we have the reason, but we need to have.
But so we should get scheduled as if with Efficiency Vermont, I guess they don't do them anymore. They have contractors that do them. They don't actually, Efficiency Vermont doesn't actually do anything anymore. It's all contracted out.
Mhm.
But we should do that. So I was gonna add that to my list because I work with them.
Are we
So
gonna get a estimate and find out how much that is?
Yeah,
Then we
but-
make the recommendations to the select board and all
I
that
think-
kind of stuff.
I think my understanding is it might be free because we're a municipality.
You'll find out. That's on Adam's to-do list.
If it's free, is everyone okay with me scheduling one if it costs $0?
Yes.
100% okay with zero.
The only trouble you get into is spending
It's
money.
under $100, donate the $100.
Petty cash.
Don't know if you can do that. It's Josh can approve a certain dollar amount and under, so you'd have to go to him.
I'll submit it for reimbursement.
I think the select board's got like $100 walking around money. So.
Do we?
No.
Sure.
No, you don't.
In
You don't
Pennsylvania.
submit- You do not.
Pennsylvania, there was this wham.
This is not
Wham funds,
Pennsylvania.
walking around money. That's what you just.
Nope.
You just get free ice cream at the 4th of July, but everything gets free.
So you're on that, Adam, right? Okay.
Yes.
I didn't add on the agenda item though, is what for Matt is gonna be the art.
Sent,
Klugo, is it under just his name, Art Klugo, or?
it's Camel's Hump. I titled the email, your email blocked the email,
Like Gmail.
your richmondvermont.org. Yeah.
that one.
Really? Did it say it was like?
CHC.
Says
I'm gonna, can you tell me what it stands for?
Uh,
your
Camel's-
message
I'm
to
guessing
Adam Wood at
Camel's Hump Design.
richmond.at.gov has been blocked.
Adam Wood or Adam?
Camel's Hump
Wood?
Development
Adam
Group.
Wood. So you two have it.
Yep.
Did you send to Lisa too?
No, just you.
Can you try sending to Lisa just to see if it's the Richmond emails blocking it or if it's my email specifically?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a proposal for, can we just, 1 second, proposal for owner project management. Okay,
Oh, you're gonna send it to
Beautiful.
town?
I'm gonna send it.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if it's the town email server blocking it or if it's my email specifically.
Yeah, I have trouble sending things to Duncan.
Yeah, that email has some funky, some kind of.
Yeah, he
limitations
explained
there.
it one time. It took like 5 minutes.
And I haven't,
Okay.
it's not a file size thing or something,
Right.
so I don't, because I sent
But
it.
that'd
I
be
think it's a
perfect,
routing
Matt, for us to
issue.
be able to read that right before Jay comes in, if Jay is able to come to our next meeting. If Jay's not able to come to our next meeting, we can still talk about the
Great.
Camel Tom Development Group Proposal Owner Project Management.
Great. And everyone's okay with me sending the same email I sent to you three to Lisa just to check that.
Oh, totally.
Good, we'll
Just
see.
trying to see if it's
I
mine.
didn't want you to think it was a requirement, was
I
all.
know.
They send it to everybody in the room.
Oh, good.
Mhm.
All right, let's see if
I
that
don't know
passes.
anyone who's ever been hauled before the open meeting court, but there must be something, there must be a punishment of some sort, because people seem to be really afraid of it.
Let's
Usually-
not be the precedent setters.
Yeah,
These are things that,
I
they
think
just,
that has to do with transparency.
they don't want
Yeah.
to get publicly shamed.
Yeah,
Huge-
exactly.
huge
His
thing out of it.
reputation as being a, behind the.
And the
behind
big thing is, I
curtain.
think it has to be multi, to actually get in trouble for it, it has to be. with
Intentional
failure.
and
Exactly.
malicious.
Sneaky backdoor deals, let's be real.
Yeah,
Anyhow,
yeah, I agree with the whole
Lisa,
concept of it.
did you get my email?
Just
I'm looking,
I think it was your
so
email.
was that it for your to-do? I don't want
oh,
to make.
there,
we have-
yeah, yep,
So
Great.
we've gone through what your
CTG
to-do was, and now we've created a to-do
We're
is.
still on there.
Adam, it's your email.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Lisa
there.
just received it.
It's just came in, let me open one, just make sure they're there. Rich CHDG.
Try to send it to you
Have I
individually.
sent you an
Okay.
email? I'll send you an email from.
This is the
Yeah, that'll
larger
work
of
out.
two files?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll work out. I'll send them one from it.
To your Gmail that.
Please.
Hmm.
Okay.
Do you, the
Uh,
to-do list that I sent, email to you
Matt
guys,
didn't
can you
have any
just pull
to-do
that
list,
out?
because
Yep, I have
you
my
weren't here.
handwritten
You
version.
gotta
It's
sign
nice,
everything.
typed up clean version.
That's how I don't put
Only
any.
make sure that
It's got it.
I think Mike had a to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
He did. We went
Since
over his to-do.
since he's
We went
here.
over his to-do list. He was talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other piece was,
Lisa had to post the documents on the site. That was your big thing to get that
That, I
accomplished.
got someone else to do it, but you
But
got
you got
it.
it, you got it accomplished.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
We're good.
sad.
Yeah, I don't think we're missing anything. If we are, let me know.
okay, and
So
so
that goes.
we did get the post office lease. I got that from Josh too, and then the
Thank you.
library,
Yeah, I didn't.
library's owner's contract, but
Mhm.
the post office lease was disappointing for me. In the sense of, I didn't see when you guys were re-upping the lease, historically, it's every, I think, 5 years. There was no, at one point, there was a list of, I know it happened at a public meeting, it was discussed, like a list of contingent items that the town had to take care of and do, or et cetera. So my to-do list on that, coming out of that, would be, is there a list, and it might be something that we get from Josh, is there a list of to-dos that we're supposed to be doing for the post office of any kind of maintenance outstanding or something specific to making them happy versus,
Contractually obligated kind of stuff.
yeah,
Or-
but I didn't see anything. So there's nothing contractually obligated that I'm aware of, because
Are you
there was
saying
no
that should be
amendment.
part of the work that we're doing
Did-
or no?
Or just to know where we
Yeah,
stand.
where we
Oh,
stand.
okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So I don't mind finding that out
nothing in the
along with getting the
contract, right?
energy
The
audit.
contract does not specify any of that stuff.
I mean, they probably expect us to plow the lot and things like that, provide utilities.
So we should,
Maybe
so
not, maybe they have their own meters.
So what are we asking for?
I'll do that. I'll put that with my list. I'll get that as my, post office, any outstanding maintenance items, that kind of thing, and I'll follow up with Josh on that, because I've got to follow up with Josh on that energy audit, because you don't think we can get one
I don't,
out there somewhere.
maybe it is.
If we got one, we have one.
Gary Bresser turned it over and put a Z on it. Hope you're listening, Gary.
Nice. So I'll follow up with Josh on those two things, if that's okay. Because yes, we got the lease, but the lease didn't answer any questions for me.
And in the 3 years that I've been on this committee, we've never talked about anything that has to do with maintenance or repairs to the post office specifically. We've never funded anything that, like this, it hasn't gone through this committee,
Yeah.
so I think it would be Josh definitely to talk to.
So if you guys are okay with that, I'll bring back that and try to get that information. Back on the to-do list, though. Adam went through all his.
Lisa had, Lisa's big to-do list was to get all the documents posted.
That's done.
They're all the ones I know
She
of.
didn't do it, but it was done.
We got people to do, we got people for that. People that know
And
more
then
than I
Mike
do.
had a to-do list, but we've kind of gone over Mike's
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that sums up our to-do list.
Well, I had to do the to-do list. Ha ha ha, down to Cara's. The draft adventure, but the funds availability and documentation and stuff like that. I provided it all to you, but I really want to do some follow-up on that to like that $50,000 question, like, how's that? And how does that come out of the reserve? And really understand, I was waiting for, taking Amy's information because I was confused with, do the funds, are the accounts combined? So I'd really like to set the funding side of things of what's our available funds. I'm willing to table that for just a little bit because they've got fiscal year end that happens at the end of this month.
Sure.
So we're gonna have a better idea of fund balances, et cetera, after the fiscal year end. And I'll be able to come back to you with more detailed and clear information on that, if that's okay. Because if we start to tackle those list of items that could be maintenance and repaired now, you're gonna wanna know how much money we have to recommend to the select board to use for what. But I think it's premature to continue to, I wanted to get a basic understanding of how much we had, because are we talking, we have $1 million sitting over here, or do we have 100,000? Big difference. So now we have some basic numbers to go by.
Yeah.
And we can move forward from there.
I also think that, we have, well, we don't have to do that. Let's say we have the option, we've canceled the sidewalk project and there is money
In the ARPA fund.
in ARPA
And I
fund.
think I noted that.
Spending that on this building, if we can come up with a good proposal, that's not.
I wouldn't count on that totally just
No.
yet. We shot ourselves in both feet by canceling it. Well, we pissed off CCRPC.
And
So-
we've accounted,
Well,
we've accounted for financially for the fines, not fines, but the
Yeah.
back
mhm.
administrative fees we have to pay, and we still have like $340,000 left over.
No, I mean, the ill will, I guess, it created is gonna linger for a while.
Yeah, but we'll still,
It-
the money's still there though, so we can. sit
And then
down.
everybody else has seen us as a rich town, so we can't get grants for the library and everywhere else. So listen, my concern was, and why I wanted to bring it to this board's attention and the select board's attention is, don't spend the ARPA money on, don't keep putting it in the parks and stuff like that necessarily if you need it for this building.
Yes, spending some on the parks is worthy, but there's a good, now that we have that canceled, there should be a good chunk that we.
Well, there was like a couple 100,000 left in it before you
Mm.
gave the extra 100 for the parks. And then there was now the 300 coming back in. So you're looking at $500,000 potentially, which could go a long way for anything in this building, along with the existing funds that are already
Yeah, so I.
in the
don't- those
reserves.
are like order of magnitude numbers and stuff, and obviously we have to come up with proposals, but there's a good chance we could.
I mean, you got
Some needed maintenance.
$328,000.
Easy to convince, speaking as one select board member, that would be an easy decision for me to work on this building, and I think that would be kind of wide if we weren't taking money away from the parks. I think people are excited about that.
Oh, and
But if we
Totally.
can do that and we can use some money to maintain this building, I think that's a kind of a home run for everyone.
so we've got 328,000 was what the magic number was for the town center. The library had 10,000. The conservation fund had 370,000 and ARPA had 298,000. Which
Plus-
added up,
plus whatever.
the 298 was prior to any cancellation of sidewalks. I think I'll double check that, but
Yeah, that's
sounds
definitely. that's
what it is, yeah.
definitely-
But the thing is if we propose to use any conservation funds, and I am somebody who spoke publicly about this for years, that the conservation funds are not just for conserving land, it's supposed to be for buildings, et cetera. And conserving this building would be very important.
Conserving the town.
Yeah. So if we needed to ask for $100,000 of those funds because we were 100,000 short, I mean, I think that would be very important for us to look at that, considering the increase in
the grand list doubled the amount of money that was going into the conservation fund because we kept it at the percentage that it was at. And I was somebody who supported that. So just of all people, Cara was supporting, hey, maintain your same ask as you've always had.
There is an example from, even I support it.
I gotta say it because
Oh, my God.
people don't believe it, right? Because I'm always talking about spending and watching that and that kind of thing. But my point is because I knew this structure needed it. So I was
Good way to
thinking about
slowly raise
banking
money
it.
to Bank money to do work on this project.
And then rolling forward, when we talk about maintenance and capital plans, that can come into play for this. So anyhow, so that's the numbers. I just went through them quickly. To do
I
done.
thought we were just gonna remodel it and leave it for 75 years. Isn't that everyone else does their house?
No,
To build a
Every
really
house I
rugged-
work on, that's what people do.
No paint, no nothing.
It's brand new. I just redid it in 1992.
So the one thing I didn't do on my list was D, which was follow up with the finance director for the $50,000 expense for the reserves. And again, I'll do that after your fiscal year end.
For next meeting, I have all my action items. Does anyone else, or not action, but homework, I guess, action items and homework? Does anyone have any questions about what theirs are? Clarity?
Well, I don't have anything.
Sorry, Lisa.
No
I don't-
questions from here.
We can state them,
It's
we
all
can state them real quick. I don't have anything for Amy.
okay.
Yeah,
Other than the mission statement,
that everybody has.
Mhm.
Everyone has it, write your mission statement.
Yep. And I have, Matt's already sent the email around to everybody, so that'll be good. Adam has a couple things on his list.
Yeah, so I have,
Go ahead.
write mission statement, obviously,
Mm-hmm,
schedule energy audit,
mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
confirm it's,
or not schedule, but work on
confirm the price
process for
first.
scheduling, yeah. And then, I had one more on there. What did I just, I didn't write it on there. Oh,
Make the
so
agenda.
I assume that's just, I didn't put that on my action.
You should have the agenda on
Standing
your
item.
to-do, so you don't forget, since it's first time out.
I have a separate agenda. page.
Oh, and-
I gave this one page.
And send your agenda to Duncan
Really,
couple of days, like
Mhm.
early, yeah, so he can get it posted.
Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, all the emails
11:50.
that
I'll also have to check in with, meet up with Jay still and check in with him.
But your agenda has to include the packet items that we've discussed here that went to everybody via email. We should have some place that they're being posted. So those packet items that we discussed tonight should be posted on tonight's, the 6:20.
So we have, for the packet, we have Karen Yagi's email.
That will be for next agenda. But part of what you have to do is make sure they posted what we had for tonight's, because we haven't done that.
Oh, we haven't posted for tonight's.
No, I don't think we posted the stuff that we got from.
Right, I mean, we've posted like the documents, the related files from Black River, but none of the other
Correct.
things that we pulled together,
Correct.
and those should be up here too.
Related files for this evening's postings.
What do we have there? Give me a list so I can check them
Well,
all.
you're gonna have the email that came from Amy.
Yep.
The email that came from me.
Oh, so this is easy.
Right.
There's no like, so we're not, okay. Sorry, I
No,
was
just the
thinking-
documents
I
that
thought
we
you-
could
I
tell
thought you
you
mind
about.
documentation on action items and all that stuff.
Yeah, I was wondering what this
Some of
was.
us do, obviously.
Nope, just that, just the documents that we've talked about and everybody's read and reviewed, it has to be
So-
available to the public.
Just for mechanics and stuff, I mean, are we gonna post those things with the next meeting's agenda, or are we gonna try to edit the website and put them on for this past meeting?
I think they should go on for the meeting that the agenda was for,
Yeah.
which was this meeting. That's my personal feeling. It's
I
because
would-
when
I
you
would
read an agenda item, you want to go look at what they were talking
I would
about.
agree.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Makes sense.
So we need to add,
And that's just a rhythm we're gonna get into, the routine that we're gonna learn, so, which goes to Mike's
say the 20.
transparency.
Twenty-six, yep.
Payday for some people, not me.
Let's get those.
Matt has to be ready to present next week. That's his to do.
Oh, yeah.
Although you're gonna do some calculations too,
Do you need
based
this?
on the PDF information from Black River, right?
Yeah, I just, what I was gonna do, I already did it.
No, I.
It
You-
was
you-
one number multiplied by another. When I rebuilt the, Beta Technologies, the airport, I rebuilt their headquarter building. It was a rundown, rat infested.
Really, I've been in there. It's Not
anymore.
that anymore.
So it's $250 a square foot. That was a total gut, and it's nice. If you haven't seen it, take a peek. It's nice. That was tip to tail, gutted, HVAC, roof, wood floors, big, pretty, solid wood doors, etc. So it's $250 square foot. Even if that was $350 square foot, be a $7 million job. $250 square foot, it's 4.7. So that's where my calibration is. That was at construction cost 10% higher than today, maybe 15% higher than today in 2021-ish. That was peak cost of construction. And so it's good. It's a good gut number that I use because it turned out to be it was 1 penny over $250 a square foot. So I was like, huh, well, that's a good number to know. It was in Vermont, obviously a different town, different things we have to do with flood mitigation is always tough. We didn't have to deal with that. But
Even if we treat the 250 as a realistic low end.
even if we treat it as a realistic.
But that was a
low
gut
end,
job, you said, right?
That was, yeah, I mean, that was, yeah,
So
blown apart.
can I ask you what you just calculated for the square footage of this building?
19,000. I just took it off the project, RITC, the published document, RITC SD program layouts
Mhm.
in the top right, which I just totally missed this entire document, which is
Mhm.
great.
It's allowed.
It's 19,154. Is this total square footage. They break it out by basement, ground, level 1 and level 2 as well. It's about 5,000 square feet a pop.
But with the basement,
We don't have to redo that. So that I just did a ballpark total building times $250.
that you were doing the basement too on that.
Assuming we'd have to do some work there because
We have to do
maybe
work
the
there.
cost of not having to redo the basement is offset by the fact that we have to do a bunch.
Because it can be used for storage, which means people occupy it at times, which means we have to do stuff to it. Yeah. Yeah. So I just included it. I wasn't trying to get fancy. I just
Yeah,
had to
no, I just wanted to make sure you were included.
Yeah, so if we like
Put it on
hand
the
wavy
modular.
$5 million is kind of the lowest end that we can say is a total gut for this building, pending large unknown cost. It's a good caliber. For us.
Yeah, I guess at some point, the unknown would have to be identified, at least as far as what is unknown.
Those will be big ones, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think that's gonna be flood mitigation potentially. That's gonna be full sprinkler system. Those will be big kind of tack on to the number of things.
And your 5 million is just the cost of the building. That doesn't include any of the soft costs that go with a construction
correct. That
project
was
as
purely
well, which
construction.
was $3 million of the,
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just
But
gutting, rebuilding.
Yeah.
So
we just have to be mindful of that.
there's a lot more that goes into it.
Thank you for bringing that up, so, yep.
It's a good, just cut. $5 million. We just keep that in our head. It's nice and round.
So based on your agenda for next time, if we can't get Jay, if he's unavailable for our next meeting, and do we know what the next meeting date is?
I just saw it, 7/10,
Yeah, that's right. It's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yep. 7/10.
I'm just writing that date down, thank you, for me not having to look that up. If we can't get Jay, Matt's gonna do the presentation from Emil's Home. And we're gonna talk about Karen Yagi and how we deal with the public input and how we track that or talk about it. That'll take a little bit of time to come from that. We'll talk about the mission statement. Is there anything else that we need to go over? Or do we put the last thing as the to-do list?
It might be too early next meeting. I think yeah, I'm gonna save it. We'll bring it up next time.
I mean, the to-do list that everybody was assigned, that was
Yeah.
check those
Yeah.
boxes.
Did you get my email?
Yeah, I responded as well.
Did it bounce it back?
It did not. I responded with the documentation.
They got it.
Great.
Added
Well,
to
you are on the email with all of us. You just don't see it.
Can I suggest one thing to have on your agenda, which may or may not make any difference to the public, but just to make sure that public comment is actually a feature on the agenda so that people know oh, I could come to this meeting and say something.
And then just like the select board, the public comment and then changes or adds to the agenda, those two pieces. Just copy and paste that. So we've actually ran over.
Hmm.
So I don't know if there's anything else you want to go over.
No, I don't have anything else. Does anyone else have anything? We've covered the agenda.
Move to adjourn.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Adjourned.
Okay.
Stop recording.